Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day, whether you're watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. I'm glad you're here. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to look at some of the knives that I've had in my collection for a very long time, or a pretty long time. They're not new knives, but I think they're all still very relevant and they're fantastic knives. Before I get started, I want to say thank you to the channel members. Thank you all. Thank you to all my subscribers, and thank you to anyone who just finds their way in here to check out my knife, my EDC content. I hope you enjoy it. I really appreciate it. If you're so inclined, if you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification icon, it does really help me out. So this first knife is a knife I picked up after seeing several reviews. I think I saw it on Shabaz's channel when I first got into collecting, and on Metal Complexes. It was when I was a flipper only guy. I didn't know how to middle finger flick yet. And this is the Kizer Clutch. The Kizer Clutch is a bolster lock, titanium carbon fiber, with an S35 VN blade, with a really nice shape. It's got kind of a sheep's footy, Warncliffey shape, but it's still got some nice belly, so I don't know what you'd necessarily call it. But it can either be push buttoned, or it can be light switched. It fits in the hand very, very well. It's a great cutter and a great EDC knife. Whether you look at it as an office carry, whether you look at it as just a civilian type carry, I wouldn't rate it as a hard use knife. Most of these knives aren't going to really be that. They're going to be more EDC knives. But this one, the blade stays almost completely contained. Has a very nice pocket clip, not fully deep, but it also has a lanyard hole. Great clip, just a really nice knife from Kizer. I think you can still find these from time to time on Amazon. I'll see if I can find a link for one and I'll leave it for you. I know Kizer doesn't make them anymore, but there's several out there, and they're really, really good knives. Just to give you an idea on size, and we won't do this on all of them, but we will just look at it next to the Baby Banter and the Para 2. And this one's going to come in that medium to full size range of the Para 2. And it was, I didn't say this, but this is also going in the order, this like top 10 of the knives that have stayed in my collection for a reason are going in the order that I brought them into the collection. So this was the first one. It's the Kizer Clutch. I really like it. It's stuck around. I haven't been willing to get rid of it because I just think it's that good of a knife. Moving on, we come to an old favorite, and one that it took me a couple of drops before I was influenced by all the hype on this knife. And I will say that the hype is worth it. My particular variation of this Urban Design or F5.5 is the, I think it was green micarta, maybe natural micarta. It's got this tall M390 flat ground blade that's very thick but very thin because it's so tall. It's a fantastic slicer. It's a fantastic pocket knife. It's shorter. It has a great clip. Goes in and out of the pocket like nobody's business. Very easy to deploy. It has a middle finger flick, or you can thumb flick it if that's what you prefer. It's got a titanium liner lock, titanium clip. It's going to come in, I don't have my bug out here, but I can grab it. As he grabs the bug out, just so we can see some knives. I think the Para 2 will dwarf that guy, because it's even going to be shorter than the bug out by about an inch. So a short little stout cleaver, but yet a very thin cutter with a very nice point that you can get down on. Thick blade stock, M390. They're still making these in different variations. I really wish I had a titanium one to go with this one because it is that good of a design. I think it's a Voxnez design, fantastic choil. I love the F5.5, an older knife, but still very relevant in my collection. Moving on, we come to another Kaiser, and probably my favorite Kaiser. From a gentleman's knife or a city EDC knife that's super lightweight. You can still get these in micarta. I don't know if you can still get the carbon fiber. But this was the carbon fiber Kaiser Genie. The Kaiser Genie has a front flipper tab. And it has this reverse tanto, if you want to call it that, blade. Liner lock, drop shut with a finger flicking hole that works great. This knife is almost weighs nothing. I know the blade's about 3 inches. The knife's 2.25. So a very, very light package, very thin blade, very thin carry profile, titanium clip, works great. Size-wise, it's going to be narrower, but about the same length as the Benchmade. Bug out. But like I say, pocket profile and effective cutting, I'd put the Genie up against anything for some of that light duty city cutting. Would I go baton it through wood? Probably not. But it is a great little knife. One of my favorites. One that I've never thought about getting rid of. I picked it up on Amazon. I'll leave a link to it. It may be the micarta version, which is less expensive. But just a great knife. S35VN blade steel, because that's what Kaiser was using back then. And this would be number 7. No, number 8. Number 7 was a knife I picked up. And this is the first Tuya Big Belly, the high-end one that came in carbon fiber, titanium clip, and an M390 blade. They since released this knife in a more budget-friendly that still uses a unibody construction, G10, and a D2 blade, or a 14C blade. This is a Michael Glavick design. It is a very tall, flat-ground, big-bellied blade with probably one of the best feeling bar locks in the game. I can't reverse finger flick it because there's not quite enough room for me to get my meat behind that thumb stud. However, I can thumb flick it like nobody's business. It's got a tall belt satin grind, super slicey, super pokey. And I love this monoblock construction. So what you basically have is this solid piece of carbon fiber, and then you've got this little steel insert where your bar lock mechanism rides and hangs into, but locks up like a champ. You've got a wonderful place to put your finger. It is absolutely a joy to carry, super light, and super effective. Whether you're skinning, whether you're cutting, whether you're opening packages, whether you're saving your Slurpee, it is just, I think, a very unique, enjoyable design. I'm glad I held on to it, and I plan on having it as a forever knife, and that is the Tuya Big Belly. The next one I got, and this is probably the 3rd or 4th set of scales I've had on this guy. This is my Spyderco Smock. I finally tried this one out, removed my second detent ball after watching a bunch of different videos about the different ways the action worked. And this is the Spyderco Smock. It originally came with kind of carbon fiber S scales with speed holes in it. I swapped those out for some micarta scales. I really wasn't crazy about them because they didn't provide a lot of grip. Then I picked up some G10 Smok, the designer scales that were etched kind of with some different designs. I liked those, and then I saw these Raylight titanium scales that were very economical and figured what the hell, I'd try them. And they've stayed on the knife ever since because they fit it well, they feel good. Guys, this is a hollow grind that is absolutely a slicing machine. I love this knife. I know the Smok's not probably the most popular Spyderco. When I got it primarily for the fidget factor. It was one of the first button locks outside of the Malibu that I tried, and I really fell in love with it. It's a great knife. It's one of the Taichung, Taiwan made Spydercos. Super knife. You do have a corner traditional flipper, or you've got your Spidey hole. Great knife. Beautiful grind. I want to say this one is in S30V and made in Taichung, Taiwan, and that's the Spyderco Smock, coming in at number 109,876, which brings us to number 5, and that's the most economical knife on this list. And I've given away a lot of Asher knives on Friday Knife Flicks. I've not been able to turn loose of this knife. This is, I gave away a G10 20CV version, but this is an S35, the first generation of the Holy Titanium Spiro. I remember Lefty did a review on this knife and compared it to the Oz Roosevelt. Of course, they're totally different knives, both in quality, build material, the way they're built. But when you talk about feel, you talk about the way it fits in the hand, you talk about the detent, talk about the snap, the fact that this knife costs, I think $115. Either $115 or $125. Deep carry clip, S35 VN, stonewashed blade, titanium handles, done very, very well. You've got this super tall flat ground blade that is a laser beam. It's a light knife. It's a thin knife. So if you look at this knife and we compare it to our bug out, we'll see that they're both about the same thickness, right? The Asher's are actually a little thinner with the clip. But our size and length is going to be right around the same. So this is, I probably had 8 Ashers in my collection. I think I've given away 7. I think this is my last Asher that I have in the collection, and I'm going to hang on to it because I love it. But this is the Thai Holy Spiro, and it comes in, I believe, at number 5, which brings us to number 4. The next one I got that doesn't get enough accolades, that I don't carry enough, is my Luft Avant. This is the Gen 1, the one that was pre-ordered. I picked this up from Lefty EDC after he pre-ordered it, bought it. You know how he is with knives. He's big into getting rid of them. Made me a bro deal on this. I liked it. I wanted to get in on the pre-order, but I couldn't. I always have been a fan of bearded gear. I like the look of this knife. I like the way that it is so light. The flipper tab is done amazingly well. The micarta handles, I think, are done amazingly well. The flipper tab gives you so much liberty at where you deploy it from. You've got the steep hollow ground M390 blade with a steep belly on the tip. Again, it's going to come in right around the same length as the bug out. Just maybe a smidge longer, but it's going to be, I would say, lighter. Something about this knife, and that was the complaint I heard from a couple of people that got it, that traded it, was it was a more expensive knife, but they equated the weight with value. I don't really see it that way. I've held the titanium. It does feel much more hardy, but I can appreciate the lightness of this knife. OEM by Riot, has really good action, very well made. It's performed fantastically for me, and I'm a big fan. But this is the Luft Concepts Avant, OEM, or made by, or designed by Bearded Gear, and I forget his partner's name, and OEM by Riot. Great knife. They're still available in different configurations. Still find them. They were on sale. The carbon fiber one was on sale for like $200 at Blade HQ. If I can find it, I'll leave a link. But that is the Luft Concept Avance, which brings us to number 3. Number 3, this is my second Ace Grand. The Ace Grand, I think, is my most perfect giant mouse knife. This particular one is the Venatus knife, St. Nick's Knives exclusive, where you've got the red G10 handle. and you've got this Veneta steel, which is a steel that I wasn't familiar with. I also had this knife in Elmax and in micarta, but I traded that with my buddy Dark Gravity for a concept knife I wanted because I didn't feel like I needed two grands. Hindsight being 2020, I love that Grand. I bought the Atelier in the same configuration, same colorway, same blade steel, so I've kind of got the mini version of the one I traded. But the Ace Grand is a full-size knife. I would say it's a harder use knife. It's got a thicker spine, kind of like a clip point inspired blade. I think it's going to be bigger than the Bug Out and a little bit shorter, but more hardy than the PM2. Not by much, just about the same size as the PM2. So I'd put it in that large to medium large category, and I hold it right here. You can choke up if you want to, because you do have this poon and you do have this jimping. Liner lock, great pear-shaped pill opening. I think this knife is fantastic. I love the way it carries. I love the way it cuts. It's hardy. It's a beefier knife. You can put it through its paces, and I love it. It's a great knife from the past, not brand new, but still very relevant today, and will do everything you need a good pocket knife to do. Which brings us to, and again, these are in the order that they came into my collection, not in my favorites, but the Maxace Black Mirror. I can't say enough about this little amazing value knife. This knife lists for $142. This knife is M390. This knife is titanium backspacer, frame lock, buttery action, super functional blade shape, super slicey. Again, quality materials. Look at the access to that lock bar. Quality build. $142. It's a small knife. I find it the perfect EDC knife, not just because of the blade shape. About the same size as the Bug Out, a little bit thicker. You've got a nice titanium pocket clip that goes in and out of pocket very well. You've just got, in my opinion, a great package for a little cutter, a little user. This knife is a little user, very simple. I did put skiffs in it. It comes apart very easily, goes together very easily with the backspacer. Couple of access screws to take it apart, but just an elegant little knife. $142. Every now and then Chicago Knife Works will have it on sale for $120, $130. I think it's just a slamming value. And this one comes in at number 2, because this was the second to the last not so new knife I bought that I still think is excellent. Which brings us to number 1, and the most recent knife that I purchased that you don't see a lot of, that's not really talked about much anymore. Started out as a Beyond EDC design, OEM by Bestech. Something happened there, and Bestech took up the production and released it, I think in limited numbers. But this is the Bestech Syn. It is an amazing specimen in titanium and micarta with a bolster lock. It's got a deep, hollow ground Elmax blade. It's got a very unique spine, but it gives you different places to put your finger depending on how you're going to use this knife to cut, because you do have a lot of different grip options with this knife. It is a full-size guy, so I'm going to just break out the PM2 and bet that it comes in just a little bit shorter than the PM2. So I'll throw the Bug Out up there so that you can see that it's a good bit bigger than the Bug Out. I consider it a full-size knife. I carried it today. I haven't carried it in a while. I enjoyed carrying it. It's got a great clip, smoothie, silky action, fantastic deployment. I had a couple people mention, and it's understandable, that they can't get past the way the blade looks. It doesn't bother me. I like unique things. But the Besttech Sin, guys, is the most recent, not so brand new knife that's still in my collection, that's as good as any that are, you know, new and hyped. So these are just 10 that have made the cut, right? These are 10 that I would say these are long-term blessings being passed on to knives that I've had for, in all cases, over a year. Even the Besttech Syn, I picked up at Blade Show the year before last, so I've had it over a year. Most of these I've had for 2, maybe 3 years. But they stay in the collection for a while, for a reason. I don't plan on them going anywhere. Take the Big Belly out of there. Throw the Kizer Clutch up there. Throw the Kaiser Gemini up there. And then I will leave our little buddy, the Urban EDC F5.5, and tell you guys thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it enjoyable. Maybe you see something in here cool that you didn't know existed that you can go find. All I ask, if you're so inclined, hit the subscribe button, of course, and the bell notification icon. But please look out for the guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Please look out for each other. Go forward with love in your hearts and choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.